We already have discussed many things about the initial value of counter. First thing, you remember that the initial value of counter is called permits. And whenever a thread calls the acquire method with an integer as its argument, then that thread consumes that many permits. So the initial value of counter is called permits, and threads consumes various available permits depending on whatever the integer value we passed to the argument of the acquire method. Sometimes we may want to know that how much value of the initial counter is still remaining. That means how many permits are still remaining. That we can get by availablePermits method of the Semaphore class. The availablePermits method is a public method which returns integer. It returns the current number of permits available in the Semaphore, means the current value of the initial counter. Now let's use the availablePermits method. Open mythread.java, and instead of printing here the value of I, let's print here s.availablePermits. If you remember, we have set the initial value of the counter as 5, means we have set the total number of permits for the Semaphore as 5, and one thread is acquiring 2 permits at a time. So in this case, the 2 threads can enter together in the critical section and they will consume 2 permits. Therefore, only 1 permit will be remain for the Semaphore object. Let's try this code practically. Java C, mythread.java, check.java, compiles fine, now run it, Java check, it runs fine. 2 threads are getting chance and everyone is printing 1 because 2 threads T1 and T3 are inside the critical section and the remaining value of permit is 1. The same thing happens when T4 and T2 got the chance to execute the critical section together. The remaining value of permit in this case is also 1. Let's open check.java and let's make some changes. Right here 2, and instead of using 2 permits at a time, let's use just 1 permit at a time. Let's use just 1 permit at a time. Try to compile these 2 codes. Compiles fine, now run it. It runs fine, but at this time the remaining permit is always 0 because the 2 threads are allowed to enter in the critical section, but they are consuming only 1 permit. Therefore, the remaining permit in all the cases will be 0, except this last one, because most probably in this case, all the threads finished their execution in the critical section and only the thread T4 is remaining in the critical section, showing the current value of the permit as 1. If a thread is acquiring the permit but not releasing that, then in that case, the program will be hanged. Try to compile these 2 codes, Java C, mythread.java, check.java, execute it, and the program is going to be hanged because a thread should release whatever the permits it consumed.